Welcome back to the Herbalist Hour. Today I'm excited to have on Betzy Bancroft. Welcome to the show, Betsy.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here.
Welcome to the Herbalist Hour. This is where community gather, merging the power of people and flowers, the sweet and the bitter to the salty, the sour. Umami, it's time for the Herbalist Hour.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you as well. We had you back on, I want to say is episode 80-ish or something. And it's cool. I have this long list of running questions for everybody that I interview, and if I don't check off the box, I'm like, ooh, I'm going to ask them about that next time. So I do have one of the lingering question from our last interview, so I'm excited to ask that. But before we get into all that, including before we get into your book, which is going to be a bunch of the conversation today, Herbal Pharmacy. When is this coming out, Betsy?
The due date is April 7th,
Okay,
so pretty soon. I believe it's actually at the printer as we speak.
sweet. Well, we could
Yeah.
discuss when we want to release this episode, but we'll make it timely for you as well.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, we'll get into herbal pharmacy, the science and magic of preparing and administering plant medicine. We'll get to that later. Ooh, with the foreword by Rosemary Gladstar too. She's probably given the most forewords out of every herbalist, I'd say.
I think she's written a lot of forwards, but because we know each other,
Right.
she was actually kind of psyched to write, especially once she saw the book. She was actually psyched about it. And she mostly talks about me
I
in the
know. I noticed
forward
that.
rather than the book itself, which was extremely sweet.
Yeah, I thought that was really sweet too. A lovely intro, lovely forward. But before we get into all that, just curious how everything's going in Vermont right now.
Oh, Vermont is lovely. The sun just came out. It's
Mm,
it's been snowing for 2 days,
okay.
and the forest is just incredibly beautiful right now. It's like the snow's all fluffy and sparkly, and I'm going to try to get out and snowshoe this afternoon because that's my happy place. I mean, the forest. One of your questions is, what's it like to live at Sage Mountain?
Yeah.
The forest is my favorite part. Yeah, and that
Mm.
forest is just beautiful, magical, amazing. And yeah, that's my happy place. I'm out there a lot, all seasons.
Do you ever do a cross country skiing?
Uh, a little bit.
Okay.
I aspire to cross country ski,
I
honestly.
I just did it for the first time a couple weeks ago, and boy, was I bad at that.
Oh, it's not easy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually did try it several like quite a while ago and just
Yeah.
fell on my face.
It's hard to get
Snowshoes
back
are
up too.
But snowshoes are great
Mm.
because A, you're slow, and B, you can like I like to like check out all the tracks and like
Mm.
what's going on in the forest. So slow is my like normal speed. So
Sure.
snowshoeing is just perfect.
You're in your happy place. Yeah, after my excursion, I said, next time I do this, I'm going to snowshoe instead. So
Snowshoe instead.
awesome. So are you visiting Sage Mountain just like every day then? Because you're literally like just a walk away from there.
Yeah. I don't go up to the house
Hmm.
every day, but yeah, you've been there.
I
You
have,
know
yeah.
I'm
You're a
my
fixture
yard.
there.
My yard is kind of like a little vacuole off the corner of the cell that is Sage Mountain, you know. So yeah, I'm in the woods a lot. I don't go up to the house that much, but I teach there.
Hmm.
I am going to teach there increasingly. So Emily and I've been doing these little like element weekends. Well, here there's a cute story to this because Emily proposed, we did a few classes that were, we didn't get a lot of people. So she says, let's just try something really like simple, low key. We'll do these just retreat weekends.
Mm.
But me, being an earth, I'm an earth or melancholic constitution human. I had to have some kind of structure, some sort of, container for that. So I said, well, there's four of them. How about the four elements?
Mm.
So that's what we've been doing for a couple of years. But 2027 is a big anniversary for Sage Mountain. It's 40 years since Rosemary started her apprentice programs
Wow.
up there in the late 80s, I guess it was. And
Yeah.
anyway, so Emily and I are going to start up a new apprenticeship. It's going to be an intermediate level apprentice program. We already have enough students to run it, so it's gonna go.
Nice.
So yeah, this summer we're like going to be planning and plotting and getting ready for that, which I'm super excited to teach an apprenticeship in person.
And that's going to be in addition to your work with VCIH, Vermont Center for Integrative Herbalism.
Yep, I teach
Nice.
at UKH also.
Cool.
But honestly, I'm not that psyched about teaching online. I really, to me, herbal medicine is so much about the tastes and the feels and the flavors and just being with plants and I like being with people. Admittedly an introvert, but I like being with people and teaching in person.
Hmm.
So I'm sort of like it's a little bit of a transition from mostly online at VCH to less online at VCH and more in person at Sage Mountain.
So this will be like an annual apprenticeship that you're doing. You'll have new students every year, or is it going to be like kind of a one-off thing?
No, every year is the
Heck yeah.
plan.
Awesome. So where do folks go to learn to sign up for next year's apprenticeship since it's already full?
Sage, oh, this year 27 is not full yet. We
Oh, all
just
right.
have we have like six people that we
Okay.
know are psyched about it. So what I'm saying is there's enough to make sure that it's gonna run.
Okay, cool.
But
Nice.
it's definitely got plenty of room for more people. So sagemountain.com. I don't know if Emily's got it posted quite yet, but keep an eye on sagemountain.com.
Awesome.
And now that I have a book, I had to set up a website and engage with social media. So Herbal Pharmacy book is herbalpharmacybook.com
Awesome.
is the address of my website, which has a calendar page. So wherever I'm going to be, whether it's, book events or teaching or conferences or whatever classes I'm doing at Sage, or will all be posted there. And also I have a bunch of like class handouts
Hmm.
that are posted there, and I'll keep like when people I got one question already. It's a question of my own, actually, something that I want to clarify from what I wrote in the book, which is about surface area and how ground up should the herbs be depending on what you're making. So
Hmm.
I'm inspired to write something to like expand on that.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. So like
yeah.
an additional chapter, like you're going to post this on your website or something like that, or where's this
Yeah,
going to go?
I have well I guess one of the pages on the website is a blog setup, you know what I
Cool.
mean? So I
Yep.
have some class handouts posted there, but I'm gonna start posting some other like deeper dives into certain topics because obviously there's a section on surface area in
Mm,
the chapter one principles of extraction.
mm.
But you write something or you read something or you teach something and you're like, oh, what about this?
Totally.
Oh, I didn't think
Yeah.
about that. So this it'll give me a space to, just add stuff, things like instead of saying, oh, dang, I wish I had included that. I said, oh, I have a place to put it now.
I keep hearing well, herbal authors continuously say that they're like, well, I wrote the book and now it's like in this physical standpoint now. I want to revise it. I want to add to it. So, so a blog is a good workaround for that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Why don't we just jump right into the book then? Why did you feel compelled to write this book? Oh, and also, is this your first book too?
This is my first book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It really is exciting. It's a big new adventure for sure. Um, I needed to write it because, and no offense to anybody else who's ever written a book or a medicine making book, but they're not that complete and they're not that detailed. And so I needed to write one to teach from cause that's what I do for the most part. I teach. I do have a clinical practice, but it's a lot smaller than my teaching. And so yeah, I have been asked 1,000,010 questions by students. I started teaching plant actually, medicine making was the first subject I taught
Mm.
because when I was in herb school, I graduated from David Winston's herb program in 1989. And he immediately said, "Here, you teach pharmacy." We were, sitting around in the herb room chopping stuff up, and he'd way rather to go for an herb walk, which I was blessed. The class that I was in was long enough ago that he was still living in his mother's attic,
Okay.
and the books were starting to take over the space. So we went for a lot of herb walks, which was
Mm.
an incredible treasure because his courses, like, well, especially all the courses that have moved to online, you don't get to go for herb walks as much, and I really do like to give herb walks, which I know you're going to ask me about that
Sure
later.
am.
But anyway, so yeah, as soon as I graduated, he said, "Here, you teach pharmacy. I don't want to do it." And so that was, 36 years ago, which blows my mind, and it's been that long. But yeah, so I needed a good text. And also the fact that I've been teaching it for that long, I had things to say. I had things to say. I've been asked 1,000,010 questions that I want to answer. And yeah, like I wanted a book that had like all the details, especially because there's a lot of people, students, we see it a lot in the student clinic. So I'm also a mentor in the student clinic. There's a lot of anxiety out there. There's a lot of like, oh no, I'm not sure, what if. So there's troubleshooting and there's a lot of like safety and stuff like that in the book. And that's another reason that I wanted to write it, is to write one that like everybody can feel safe with and everybody can get their questions answered. I mean, that's what I'm actually, one of the things I'm most psyched about is like, I'm hoping that lots of herbalists read my book and say, "Oh,
Mm.
that's what that is," you know?
Hmm.
Um, and I did the work on the chemistry, and honestly, my friend Hannah Ray, who's brilliant, helped me with the chemistry, the solubility stuff. But yeah, I mean, like I said, because I've been teaching this for decades now, I wanted a book that answered all the questions and that covered all the things, and again, went into enough detail that people will feel safe.
Yeah, we were talking pre-show. I mean, I think it's written beautifully, and as I was mentioning, I didn't read the entire book. I didn't have that much time, but yeah, it flows really well, and you go over so many different preparations. You talk about oils, water, alcohol, etc. Powders, the powders section, which I assume is what you were referring to earlier about surface area. Is that correct?
Oh, surface area. I mean, when you're extracting
Mm.
herbs into liquids,
Hmm.
you need to have some surface area so that the constituents and the juice and all the good things can get out of the plant cell structure and into the liquid.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so beautifully laid out. What was that writing process like? And when did you start the creation of this book? And excuse me, do you have any like tips for herbalists out there that want to write a tome such as Herbal Pharmacy?
Oh, well, I started writing it in earnest in 2021 because I had someone offer to sort of help me or be for me to be accountable to, that I would actually start writing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been thinking about it and pondering it and like, oh, I really need to do this for quite a few years actually. Um, and then Lindy reached out and said, "Oh, I'll help you." And then I got sidetracked with another project, but I had written drafts of each of those menstruum chapters. So it's the first chapter's got a bunch of different stuff in it, like principles and procurement and whatnot. But then it's the middle chapters all go by menstruum. So
Mm-hmm.
water, oil and fat, alcohol, vinegar, etc. Except that powders on a menstruum, but there's a chapter for powders too. And
Just a quick break from the show to let you know about our herbal monographs page. So if you go to herbrally.com/monographs, you're going to see all sorts of different plant monographs. And basically what a monograph is, if you don't already know, you probably do, but it's a lengthy, well-written description of what a plant is. You're going to learn about its range, its Latin name, its common names, medicinal uses, personal stories a lot of times, because we have a wide variety of herbalists talking about these plants. So if you want to learn about a specific plant, I definitely recommend you go to herbrally.com/monographs, check them out. Some of them are even 20 pages long, some of them are 5 pages long, but they're really unique, and I highly recommend you check it out. Thanks so much, and now back to the show.
But my process was to, yeah, just take a chunk at a time. Basically, I did it chapter by chapter and wrote a basic draft. And then I went back in and like I did a lot of the chemistry, solubility of chemistry specifically, research kind of all at in one chunk. And then I went back in and filled in the solubility sections in each chapter at that point. And last winter, I had a big break from school and just I had the space, so I really dug in. Plus, it was winter, it was slow. I mean, I always have snow to deal with as far as shoveling and whatnot, but but yeah, I had a nice space of time to just dig in and finish all the chapters. So it took, it's kind of like my process is I'll work on it for a bit or work on a chunk and then I have to put it away and not see it for a minute and then go back to it. But that last 3 months or last several months before the manuscript was due to the publisher, yeah, I was pretty pedal to the metal in terms of working on it full time. And just kept tinkering until I got it the way I wanted. And then when you write a book, you submit the manuscript, but then there's various rounds of edits, various editors. And I was super lucky. So the publisher of Herbal Pharmacy is Chelsea Green, which is located right in Vermont.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And my editor, Fern Marshall Bradley, has edited several other herbal books, like Dr. Stansberry's Formularies and Kat Meyer's Energetic Herbalism. So she knew what she was reading, which was hugely helpful because then when like the copy editor asked me questions like, "What do you mean old books?" Do you mean a book about old books? What do you mean old books? Like I actually have a couple old pharmacy books because David Winston was a book dealer back in the day, and so I bought some choice things from him, like Remington's Practice of Pharmacy. So yes, actual old books. So like you said, the frame of reference was definitely a thing. But Fern had that frame of reference, so that was extremely helpful to me, and made the process go, yeah, just nicer.
Do you-
So,
I was going to ask,
again,
do you think your melancholic nature helps with writing a book?
yes, honestly, because I'm a careful person, and that's definitely one of the things that comes with the melancholic constitution. And honestly, I just bought Christopher Headley and Non Shaw's books on a tip from Jim McDonald. He said, "Oh yeah, they have books." I said, "Books from them?" I didn't get to meet Non, but I did get to meet Christopher and take classes with him a few times, and he was incredibly inspiring to me. Like when he taught the class, he came to, he actually was a guest lecturer at Winston School. And I already moved to Vermont, but I was back for the summer solstice, and Christopher was in New Jersey for the summer solstice. So he taught a class at Winston School, and it was supposed to be treating mental illness by the humoral theory, but nobody knew about the humoral theory. So he just basically talked about the humors and the constitutions, and then said skullcap. And And when he discussed the melancholic humor, it just resonated
Mm.
so strongly, like long walks in the woods by yourself, like, yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So yes, I do. The fact that I could like actually focus on something and like be careful and detail oriented about it and also organized, like those are all qualities that come from the earth tendency to ponder.
Mm.
So yeah, I think it did help.
That's
And
cool.
as far as like how did I make it the way it is I would put myself in teacher head. Writing is not like easy. It doesn't like words don't flow out of my fingers. Um, but I've been teaching, like I said, for decades. So I would, sit there with my laptop and um, yeah, put myself in teacher mind.
Mm.
Sometimes literally with my teaching notes in front of me. Like I did literally sit there with my my curricula notes, which are mostly handwritten, um, because mostly I taught before the internet, right? So yeah, I put myself in teacher head, and one of my superpowers as a teacher is being able to end class on time.
Okay.
I- I'm actually really good at it, um, because I have a good sense of like, from experience, I have a good sense of what will fit,
Mm.
and also like how much detail or how much depth or like when you're teaching a class, you have so much, you have so much time. You have, an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half conference class, or you have a 2 hour, herb school class or whatever it is. Um, like figuring out how much information will fit in that space is something that teachers have to do all the time. So you can either go like super deep on something very focused, or you can go broad on something and not get into as much detail.
Mm.
Uh, you can't really do both.
Sure.
Uh, so yeah, like I said, I put myself in teacher head and used my experience and the many questions that students have asked, and yeah, and the book is what came out.
I love that. So you mentioned teacher, student, and as you know, I wanted to ask you with one of these, what would you call this? It's not the foreword, but it's the little
It was the
phrase.
dedication.
Yeah, the dedication. I loved it. Um, I'll just try for YouTube. I'll try to hold up the picture right there. You got the little spiral.
Oh yeah, the
Uh,
picture's going to be a little bit better because that's
oh,
a
right.
draft copy of it. But
That's
but
true.
yeah,
I have the uncorrected proof, not for sale. So,
so yeah, that drawing is actually a little bit nicer than what's in the original proof. But yeah, it's the dedication is dedicated to the ever continuing spiral of students becoming teachers, which is messy because students are teachers and teachers are students.
mm,
Actually, that's one of the things I like most about being a teacher is that it makes me be a student.
mm. Yeah,
Always,
can you go
always.
into that a little bit more? It just like really struck me, and yeah, I thought it was really cool what you said there.
Oh, well, so when you teach, like I said, first of all, people ask you questions and then you're like, oh, I want to know the answer to that too. So then you go down the rabbit hole and you go find the answer and check it out. But also just um, the idea of always wanting to know more, and then there's new stuff,
Yeah.
So like medicine making, I've been doing that for a long time, but more recently I've gotten super curious about the human microbiome, and now I'm curious about metabolism. I inherited the class on diabetes here at VCIH, and it's very much framed. It was written by Ember Peters and then added onto by Ion Gozi, and it's from a very um, this isn't people's fault. There's a lot of reasons why people's metabolism is really messed up.
Mm.
Um, and so it's coming from that perspective. So I want to learn more about metabolism now. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So teaching, um, at least for me, it really is a spark to want to learn more and like get more detail. I do also in that have sort of a line that I've drawn. I get down to the tissue level. Like I don't really care about enzymes and reactions.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, I might get there someday. It's true. But down to the tissue level of how things work. And so yeah, you like I said, if being a teacher makes you more curious, and then people ask you questions like, oh yeah, I want to know the answer to
Mm,
that too. And then nature is endlessly fascinating.
yeah.
Like you can't know all of it. And so many of us are herbalists, naturalists, like there's a lot of us that study nature and that are fascinated by nature. And we all have a little different take, and we all learn like a little bit different stuff. And it's just there's always more fascination with nature. It's just and it's beautiful, it's like what's not to love?
Well, you said you drew a line. I kind of suspect that's not true. I suspect, as time goes on, you're going to be getting down to the atoms and ions and everything at some point.
Maybe. I I'd actually rather just hang out with plants and
Yeah,
chew
touche.
on them. Like there's a lot of plants, like even like in the forest behind my house that I want to get to know better. Like blue bead lily, right? There's lots of, and it's so pretty, and there's lots of it, and I've never tasted it. I've never like sat with it. I've never worked with it. I've never, I'd really like to get to know blue bead lily.
Mm.
So that's one of the things I want to do. Yeah, I'm not really an internet person, really. I like I said, I'd rather be in the forest.
Right. Yeah, this conversation would have been so much cooler if I was hanging out with you in Vermont right now. Hey, when are the blue bead lilies going to pop up out there?
Oh, the spring ephemerals show up in May.
Okay.
When in May
Yeah.
depends partly on how long winter hangs out into April.
Well, we were talking about accountability partners before the show started, and maybe I could be your accountability partner to ask you later on if you start developing a relationship with the blue bead lily this year. Maybe this is the year, Betsy, you really get to know it.
Maybe
Okay.
I should make a commitment to that and
Yeah.
make it actually happen.
I'm gonna check in on you in a couple months, so
Please do.
yeah.
And please come visit too.
I don't know if you know this, but Rosalie De La Forêt, we started a new project, like an herbal creative studio is what we're calling it, and we want to visit different
Fun.
herbal communities, and Vermont's definitely on the list. So,
Oh, and you get multiple for one. I mean, right away you get two for one when you come up to our house because there's Emily Ruff and me, right?
yep, there
We're
you go.
neighbors. And then there's lots of herbalists in our neighborhood,
Oh yeah,
So
Vermont's a
yes,
hotbed.
it would be
Absolutely.
so fun. You are both so welcome.
Heck yeah. All right, well, count us in.
Yeah. The lady slippers are blooming around the summer solstice.
I got to hang out with the lady slippers out there last time I was out
Oh,
there.
that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yes.
They have their own little
Yellow
area out there in the forest. Yeah.
the yellow ones come on earlier, and we
Mm.
just have a teeny bit. Like there's a little patch of yellow ones, but as you saw, the showy lady slippers are over the top.
Mm-hmm.
And we could take you down to Groton State Park where there are the Cypripedium macaulay, the pink ones, the more terrestrial species, and also lots more spring ephemerals.
Mm.
But yes, May is just glory in the forest in Vermont.
Heck yeah. Well, count us in, I should say. Well,
Yay!
why don't we dive into the book even more? As we mentioned
Sure.
earlier, you break it up into lots of different segments, and I kind of wanted to start with the water segment. Um, it just
That's
kind
what
of struck me. Well, I was also mentioning to you, I really like your rants. Like, not like rants. Rants almost has like a negative connotation to it. They're not really rants, but they're food for thought. And what struck me in the water chapter was just your general reverence for it. With that in mind, is there anything about water as a minstrel that you'd like to talk about,
Mm.
or regarding your reverence for water?
Well, first of all, water is one of the four archetypical, I didn't say that right, four archetypal elements, right? It's also one of the molecules that unites all of life, right? We're all mostly water, whether we're a plant or an animal,
70%, I read in your
or
book.
or a fungus,
Hmm.
actually. Also, all three of these kingdoms are mostly water, right? And we have the same water, like the water in my tea here is this is a decoction. The water in my decoction was, in it fell as rain outside my house, and before that it may have been in a tree, and before that it may have been in a cloud, and before, and it was in a cow at some point too, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I find that really wonderful.
Mm.
And also water is probably the oldest menstruum. I mean, probably humans started making tea before they made other. Because, first of all, to get oil, you had to grind up seeds, or animal fat was probably an early one too,
Sure.
but we didn't have alcohol and we didn't have vinegar until relatively later in human evolution. So water is a primal substance in itself, but it's also a very ancient medicine making. It's an ancient part of medicine making. I think it'd be hard to make herbal medicine without water, right? Um, whether you're making tea or whether you're bathing somebody, or, whatever it is, water is just really important um, part of the equation for a lot of herbal medicine.
Mm.
And it's medicine in and of itself too, right? And it carries heat and cold beautifully. It dissolves plant chemicals beautifully. It's miraculous stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Before the show, I was drinking, well, I still am. I was drinking yerba mate, and it's obviously a stimulant. But yeah, before the show, I was like, I need just straight up water. And I just had a little sip, and I was like, all right, I feel so much better now.
So
Um,
much better.
do you have any comments on, say, the quality of water one uses for making herbal
Mm.
concoctions?
Yeah. The quality, water quality is definitely, that's a big issue all of itself. But when you're making an extraction, like, there's so many different reasons for extracting herbs, and in my world, things like fruits and uh, vegetables are also herbs.
Hmm.
And the So depending on what you're making, right? So if you're making a cup of tea, or you're making a shrub, shrubs aren't water, they're vinegar, but vinegar is mostly water too, right? Um, depending on what you're making, um, you might want to be able to extract as much of the chemistry of the plant as you can. And that's most common with a hydroalcoholic tincture, right? So the water that we use for tinctures is typically distilled water, because it's only H2O molecules.
Mm.
And we know from nature that H2O molecules don't really like to be in a, like, we could use the word monoculture, right?
Mm.
They like to mingle with plant molecules and flavor molecules and whatever else, animal molecules, salts and minerals and so forth too, right? Like in the
Mm.
in the ocean. So if you want the most extracting power, then you want to use water that doesn't already have other molecules in it.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, because then
Yeah.
there's more space. Just literally, there's more space for
Mm.
more plant molecules. But if you're making like high adding water to dried herbs to make poultice. Actually, sometimes I like to make dried herb poultices moistened with tea, because then I get, a little bit more other herbs in there too, right?
Mm.
Um, so so depending on what you're making, but when you're needing to extract as much as you can from the plant, distilled water will extract the most plant molecules, because it wants to mingle with other molecules.
Mm.
Whereas, again, like if you're just making a poultice or you're making something soup or something, for example, which are also important water-based extracts, it's not that crucial, right? You can use any good water. But the other reason I have that little reverence for water, and that phrase actually came from Fern,
Mm,
Fern, my editor, was that water quality is a really big deal. It's a really big issue, especially right now. We won't even talk about that because we know, but just yeah, the quality of water and the plentitude, access to water, like water is a big deal, and I feel incredibly blessed that I live in a place where clean water is abundant,
yeah.
but that's like I feel, like I said, very blessed and privileged because that's not true for an awful lot of people.
Mm,
So
yeah.
this is one of the nice feedbacks I got from one of the people who wrote one of the blurbs. Blurbs are like those little mini reviews that on the back of the book or
Sure.
whatever. Um, First of all, they were all super nice. I was completely blown away when I started reading the blurbs. Um, but many of them have something to do with that even though there's a lot of science and it's a textbook, it doesn't lose sight of nature and doesn't
Mm,
lose sight of the rhythms of the seasons and the connection with plants and so forth. And that was incredibly gratifying to me. Because like I said, I'm a nature geek. I'd rather be in the woods than on the computer. So um, so yeah, those little, I like to call them rants too. But those little like reminders, that's another word we could use. Reminders that, water is important. Um, so
yeah, a couple things. Yeah, you also talk about the devastation of bee populations and stuff like that. When you went into writing the book, was that kind of back of your mind, like I'm going to write these little quote unquote rants, or did it just kind of come out naturally? You're like, this is important for me to put in here, so I'm going to do that.
it was important for me to put them in there, so I did that.
Yeah, it really
Um,
balances out the book nicely though, because like yeah, there's a lot of like heavy sciencey stuff in here. Again, it's all still very readable, but I thought it broke up the book nicely and it kept you staying inspired and everything.
Yeah, it keeps you connected to the herbal medicine's about nature, right?
Hmm.
Like humans are part of nature. We're forgetting that in some situations, but I mean, honestly, Mason, when I talk to my students, like I believe that herbalists' real job, like the big picture real job, is to help connect people with nature.
Mm, yeah,
And we do that through plants, right? We do that through like, here, brew this tea or whatever. Um, but I think fundamentally that's our job is to help people reconnect with nature because that's where the real healing is.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm getting into these molecules and measurements and math and procedures and all this like what do they call it? Right brain stuff,
Yeah.
But yeah, I really it was important to me to keep the connection with nature. Yeah, because it's an essential part of it. I think why work with plants? Is there, but the fact that they are part of nature, that's another thing that I've talked about in classes, especially if I'm talking to like, especially if I'm not preaching to the choir and I'm teaching this, a general group of people. Sometimes I'll ask, I say, what's actually different about plant medicine from like pharmaceutical medicine and whatnot. And people have all kinds of ideas about, oh, it's more holistic or it's whatever. Like you can be very not holistic with herbal medicine if you want to.
Mm,
Um, but to me, the fundamental difference is that plants are living beings, right? And they come from nature. And so their nature and our nature, first of all, we evolved together. So they work out really nicely. But second of all, like that nature, the nature of it and the spiritual beingness of plants is that's part of the medicine too. You
Mm,
know what I mean? It's not it has science and magic. It's not just about the chemistry.
mm.
It is very much also about the spirits and the flavors and the connection.
My friend Erica Gallatin called that smagic, science and magic, smagic.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love Erica Gallatin.
yeah,
She's
she's
very
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, it reminds me when I was taking my first apprenticeship, Columbine School of Botanical Studies in Eugene, Oregon, and I took the apprenticeship because I was really into herbs and herbalism, and I did have that byproduct of like, feeling closer to nature. But my favorite was, attending that class with people that were just there to, hobbyists, like oh, this might be fun, take this apprenticeship. But yeah, next thing you know, their whole mind is shifted, and then they feel much closer to nature. Whether they became an herbalist or not, like just that fact that they grew that much closer to their own ecosystem was amazing to watch unfold in my own life and theirs as well. The other thing I wanted to say about water before we move on to fats, I remember in my like early hippie days, I was like, "What's the purest water I could drink?" I'm really into spring water now. I've been gathering my own spring water for 15 years now, but well, again, I feel very blessed to have that privilege. But so I came to the conclusion that early on I should drink distilled water. And you were talking about how molecules like to hang out with the water. What I later learned, what I was doing was I was depleting my entire system of minerals. Oh
Minerals
man,
are important.
live and
That
learn.
before we go on to fats, what you just said about people go to herb school and think, oh yeah, herb school. And then they have this like, oh, revelation and epiphany about nature. That
Mm,
happened to people at Sage Mountain too, all the
I
time.
bet.
Like all the time. Like, oh, rosemary, I was like, but no, actually they get in that forest and oh yeah, the world changes.
Yeah. All right. Well, you want to move on to some oils and fats?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, in your book, you say fats are both highly valued and misunderstood. So I was just curious if you could tell us where that misunderstanding comes from.
Mm. It's more about nutrition
Mm,
than medicine making, but still like and Michael Pollan writes about this in Defense of Food, like the whole
great book.
trajectory of the science and the maybe not so great interpretation of the science that was going on with processed fatty acids and the food industry.
Mm.
I like to blame things on the food industry because it's not personal,
Sure, sure.
Um, but that's one of the things that I think is important to understand about fatty acids is that there's different kinds of fatty acids, and it's not like some fatty acids are good for us and some fatty acids are bad for us. And I'm old enough to have it's actually like been borne out in cookbooks
Mm,
for a couple decades. It's like everything was all about low fat, low fat, low fat, like a teaspoon of olive oil for your dinner, It's like,
right.
and now if you follow cookbooks, because I like cookbooks, we're all sauteing everything in animal fat now, right? Um, so there was a lot of paranoia about, oh, fat is bad. Oh, fat is, it's dangerous. It's going to raise your cholesterol, blah, blah, blah. But it's true that some fatty acids are not as stable as other fatty acids, like, so I get into the chemistry a little bit. I'll spare you what I teach in my nutrition course because I
Thank
got
you, Betsy.
3 hours of fatty acids in my nutrition course that everybody gets more than they want.
Wow.
But anyway, so I try to elucidate just a little bit of like what is the deal with fatty acids. And they're also very interesting because they're absorbable into the skin, right? Because we're fat based, we have actually lots and lots of fatty acids in our skin tissues,
Mm,
right? So solubility of what's like what plant chemicals are soluble in oils and fats and how to work with solid fats because they're solid. But also like the absorbability and how our bodies take those substances in or how they interact with our skin. So all that's in there too.
Yeah, you go deep dive on all these topics. Selfish question. Rosalie bought me this facial oil in Ireland last summer, and I'm out now. What oil do you think would make best for a facial oil? Because I want to make one.
Oh, I would use a nice one.
Like jojoba or
Jojoba is actually a wax.
oh,
It's
that's right.
not
That
it's not actually but
I
that
forgot
makes
about
it more
that.
stable, which is
Hmm.
jojoba is very nice because it's stable. Um, you could use some of the lovely ones like almond oil or
Mm.
argan oil or
Argan,
something
yeah.
like that.
Sweet.
Olive is lovely, but it's a little smelly and thick, right? It's got its own character to it.
I don't mind it at all. I actually, when I run out, I just use my extra virgin olive oil on my skin. I'll do that a lot too.
That's a perfectly fine and wonderful
I
thing to
like the smell of
do.
olive oil. Maybe other people
Well,
don't. I don't know. But
well, then just use a really nice olive oil.
sweet. All right, I'm gonna do it.
The key thing
Uh,
is that it's fresh, like
right.
use something
High
fresh.
quality.
Yeah, don't make a huge batch.
All
Yeah.
right. I'm on it. We still got some time for more questions, or are you on a strict time limit, Betsy?
No, I have all afternoon. I'm all
Heck yeah.
good.
All right, well, then we could keep going through these questions. Again, we're talking
Sure.
about the Herbal Pharmacy, well, Herbal Pharmacy by Betzy Bancroft. And we'll leave links in the podcast show notes and YouTube description on where you could purchase it. Of course, that's coming out in April. But yeah, I wanted to jump into fresh versus dried plant material. So when you're
Yeah.
formulating a tincture, how do you decide which one to use, fresh or dried?
There's a lot of plants that I think make a better extract fresh. And if I have access to the fresh plant, I'll go for that. Like
Hmm.
plantain is one. I love plantain. It's really one of my favorite herbs. I am a weed herbalist also in the sense that I'm not actually a gardener. People like, what do you mean you're an herbalist and you're not a gardener? No, I am more of a forager. And what I mean by foraging is like I just engage with the plants that are growing around me of their own volition. Um, and so I work with plantain a lot. I really love plantain. And it's just so especially the broadleaf varieties are just so juicy,
Hmm.
and when you make a fresh extract, you get the actual juice of the plant, which
Yeah.
I think is part of the medicine. Um, Motherwort's another one I like to do fresh.
In the book, you use mugwort.
Mugwort,
Yeah.
because it was there. I have lots of mugwort. If you have a mugwort plant, you have a lot of mugwort because see rhizomes, right? That mugwort stowed away in my peonies when I moved to Vermont, and now it's just this great big patch. Um, but yeah, so I like to work with fresh herbs with tinctures especially. Um, but a lot of times the dry is all you have. And honestly, dried herb tinctures are fine, especially with really aromatic plants because the when they're dried, it concentrates the plant chemicals a little bit and so forth. But then there's a lot of aromatic plants too. Like when they're fresh, they have that like really exquisite special something that,
Hmm.
that you want to collect and you want to capture is not like is a word, but it doesn't have the right connotation. Collect, I think, is a better word. That magic, that exquisite fragrance. But I'm not a purist, like if dry is the way I can procure the plant, then I'll tincture it dry or make other extracts. I've gotten more into like vinegar extracts and I'm really into shrubs.
Mm.
Like I was thinking when you were describing your affinity for spring water, I've been really, really enjoying putting shrubs in my water.
Hmm.
It just goes down so easy, and it's you get it's a I make shrubs. The fruits that grow around me are things like blueberries, and my good friend has a grapevine.
Mm.
So and that's one of the things like what's around me. I make medicine and other concoctions with like what's around me, what I have available. I don't travel a lot. I mean, this year I have to travel a little bit. I'll be at a few conferences this year, but I'm kind of a homebody. And there's all this fruit, right? So I have to like to do something with it, and I'm not much into jelly, so I've been making shrubs. Some people know that I also brew meads. But it's because there's fruit. And I really do want to get my polyphenols in like regularly. If those of you who know the benefits of polyphenols, if you don't know the benefits of polyphenols, go down that rabbit hole. Here's just a little. Polyphenols work on the level of gene transcription.
All
Right?
right.
Ponder that for a few minutes. They flip your genes
Holy moly.
in good ways.
Yeah.
Like really important and necessary ways. So like I said, I try to get my polyphenols in. And shrubs are a really good way to do that. And there's no alcohol. And this vinegar is lovely. And you can make it. It's just
Do you ever make a hawthorn shrub?
I want to make a hawthorn shrub. Thank you for that idea.
Yeah, that'd be delicious. I thought I saw on your Instagram you posted a picture of a hawthorn tree, but maybe I was not looking closely enough.
Oh, I did post
Yeah.
a hawthorn picture on my Instagram. I took a lot of pictures of hawthorn this fall for the book, but also because the tree in the fairy garden over at Sage Mountain was just like over the top exquisite. And
I remember that one.
oh,
Oh,
sorry.
it's all good.
The tree over in the fairy garden over there at Sage Mountain was just over the top beautiful this year. It was loaded with flowers, and then it was loaded with fruit, and I wanted to get photographs of the thorns because in the book I talk about dosage, and
Ooh,
hawthorn is one of the plants that I use as an example of like the dose might be very different depending on how you're using hawthorn. So I wanted to get a picture with thorns because most pictures you find out there of hawthorn it's just about the flowers or the berries, and the thorns are part of the medicine, right? So yeah, I had a really good time taking pictures of hawthorn. I do brew hawthorn mead, and I do make some other concoctions with hawthorn berries. But thank you for the idea that next fall I will be making some hawthorn shrub for certain.
that'd be a good one. I do want to talk more about vinegar, but you mentioned dosage, so I figure now's a good time to bring it up anyways. In the book, I thought this was a really cool sentence. Having a well thought out reason why you choose a certain dose is a better approach than guessing or adhering to some arbitrary convention. So I was just hoping you could expound upon that.
Yeah, sure. And this is especially for people who are just getting into plant medicine, different herbalists. Well, one of the fun things about being an herbalist is we're a very diverse lot.
Yeah.
Like and that's a completely excellent and important thing about herbalists is that we're diverse.
That's why the show is so fun.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's people who are like really into little doses, and there's people that are like much more on the more like physical food level of larger doses. And you can be anywhere in there you want.
Yep.
And it depends on what you're working with and who you're working with but the point about like actually decide what dose you want to use. Like think it through, You can if you're not experienced, you can start with like just every good herbal has doses, in the Materia Medica section. So you can start out with an average dose, whether it's 10 drops or a milliliter or whatever. But I also say, like, especially if you're using very small doses or very large doses, be sure you know what you're doing because either of those can be like actually very powerful.
Yeah.
But I'm a teacher. I want people to think through the remedy that they're preparing And and just as important as thinking through the remedy that they're preparing, who are they caring for?
Mm.
I say that a lot in classes, like, who is your person? Who are you caring for? Because it's not like, and you've heard this from Winston, you've heard this from Michael Moore, you've heard this from lots of herbalists. Good herbalists don't treat diseases, that treat people.
Mm.
Right? We hear this all the time. And it's really important. It's really good advice, right? So who are you caring for? What is their situation? What have they been through? Like, have they had a lot of oppression, trauma, whatever, or a more well-resourced human? And so in other words, I'm inviting people to think it through and not just say, oh, I heard everything should be dosed at 4 drops, like, put more thought into it than that.
I love that explanation. And just, I'm not a clinical herbalist. I don't see other people, but I know I'm learning my own body. And I've learned the hard way over and over again recently, my relationship with coffee. I've been pushing back the time that I am allowed to drink it, and I basically can't even drink it anymore at all. My constitution is so sensitive that the next day, if I'm having trouble sleeping, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I had an 8-ounce cup of coffee at, 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. And yeah, it's just interesting. Every plant's different, every constitution's different, and yeah, just use your brain and think about it.
And it's really important to understand those things about ourselves,
Hmm.
Like, I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I like my coffee, and I put, there's a little reishi powder in my coffee,
Mm.
but here, maybe this is too much information, but both of my siblings use Adderall, right?
Okay.
So and also I'm an earth, and earth people, like, I'm just geared low, right? So a little coffee is a good thing. I don't drink it all day. I don't drink a lot of it, but yeah, it helps me think. But
Hmm.
I am not the kind of person that, like, yeah, gets insomnia or all like jittery and whatnot from it. But I know that for many, many, many people, it's not the herb for them,
I
and that's
I'm
okay.
kind of bummed about it because I do miss it, but it is what it is.
Uh,
On occasion, maybe I got to try
Occasion
your
treat.
what do you call it? Your faux cafe.
Oh yeah, Faux Cafe. That helped me. I have, like, gone back and forth, have coffee, not have coffee.
Hmm.
Honest, my siblings have given me sort of a excuse at this point. Like, oh, it's not as bad. Anyway, it kind of works like a medicine. But so I have various periods in my life, like, stopped drinking coffee. And I didn't drink it till I was, like, in my 30s. I
Oh
didn't
wow,
I
late
didn't grow
bloomer.
up drinking it. Um, but the Faux Cafe blend, you can endlessly tinker and mix and match with that. But that's a way that I've used that Faux Cafe to give me a nice, brown beverage in the morning, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But also, so we're on the Faux Cafe,
Hmm.
and I've gone back and forth, drinking coffee, not drinking coffee. So the Faux Cafe, it gives me that nice rich brown beverage that I can put cream in the morning. But you can also cut coffee with it.
Mm.
Like,
Little
that's
half and
one of
half.
the lovely things about that recipe is you can put whatever you want in there or not. So you can mix a little bit of coffee in there. You can mix some cacao or cocoa powder in there if you want just a little bit of
Mm.
caffeine. If you don't want any caffeine at all, just leave out the cocoa, leave out the coffee. Just do the dandelion and the chicory and some mushroom powder or whatever you want. Or if mushrooms for some reason aren't your thing, just use the dandelion and the cocoa, right? Like, that's the cool thing is you can put whatever you want in there.
Mm.
Um, and that's something that I wanted to come across in those, all the recipes in the book, is that you can, once you understand the principle and you get inspired by the recipe that I've put in there, you can do whatever you want with it.
Mm.
I tell the students, like, color outside the lines. like stay in the safe zone. Not don't like, don't hurt anybody or yourself, but yeah, like check it out, try it. If you wonder, oh, well, what would this be like? Try it,
Mm,
you know? I mean, the other thing that we always say about herbal medicine is the best way to learn is to test it out on yourself, right? Like hands down. Like
true.
you want to know something, test it out on yourself. So, so yeah, have fun with those recipes. That's what they're there for.
And yeah, the Faux Cafe is in the book. You do specify too if you're going to use a mushroom powder, be sure it's like a extract powder, so it's
Mm.
actually absorbable for the triterpenes and whatnot. Because you can't just be using raw mushroom powder; it's not going to be digestible.
No, that's true. First of all, raw mushrooms are not digestible by human digestive systems. And second of all, if it's just ground up mushrooms, it's not going to be as absorbable.
Yeah.
They're usually either extracted or steamed or something like that. And what that does is uh, it actually takes the polysaccharide out of the chitin, like it uncouples the polysaccharide in the chitin, which is the structure, the molecules of the structure of the mushroom. So then you can absorb it, especially if you're only gonna, make a quick brew or a quick infusion. I mean, the difference with that is if you're brewing a broth or a decoction or a stock, and those are all synonymous in my kitchen.
Sure.
um, like you're cooking those mushrooms for a long time,
Yeah.
right? So you're getting so the polysaccharides are coming out. And
Mm,
that's one of the principles of solubility is poly means many. And saccharide is sugar, right? So many sugars, it's extractable in water, but it takes a long time, right? Slow because it's big, right? So that's why we make soup stocks out of mushrooms.
yeah, I always throw at least one slice of some sort of medicinal mushroom in my broth as well. Yeah, and I love throwing the cacao in there too. So there's actually caffeine in cacao because I always thought it was like a theobromine or something, or if I
Yeah.
got that right. Is there caffeine in there as well though?
It's, I don't know I'm not sure that I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that the chocolate plant actually has caffeine. I think it's, a related compound,
yeah,
but some people still find it as, wiring
stimulating.
up and
Yeah.
stimulating.
That one I
Um,
do just fine with for whatever reason, but that's the beauty of knowing what my own constitution is like. So I wanted to say, Kate, who's joining us, says, "This is so interesting. Can't wait for the book to come out. Thank you so much for the presentation." So sweet. Thanks,
Thank you,
Kate.
Kate. Yeah,
Appreciate
great.
that.
Oh,
Um,
you asked me in the like about homemade vinegar.
I was gonna, if you have time, if you're still down to chat,
Sure,
I would love
sure.
to ask you about it. Yeah.
I give you plenty of content, and then you
Thank you.
can edit in whatever you want.
Amazing.
Um,
Did you want to walk us through that process?
sure. So one of the things I love about vinegar is that we can make it ourselves, and also it's a medicine in and of itself, right? And it's the sour flavor, which is also a medicine in and
Mm,
of itself, right? And and it's a really, really good menstruum. Like it's not as powerful an extractor as alcohol, and it doesn't last as long as alcohol, but vinegar extracts are delicious. And I know I'm not the only herbalist that believes that vinegar extracts are underappreciated. I've heard that comment from a few different herbalists. Um, so the first thing that has to happen when you're brewing vinegar, and you can use any source of carbohydrate really, but you have to make alcohol. And alcohol is made with yeast eating sugar and pooping out alcohol, basically. And then and there's some CO2 involved, which is so you have to burp it, right? Or put an airlock on it if you want to get fancy. But burping is okay too. So that's the first step in the chemistry is you brew carbohydrates in water into alcohol. And then you introduced oxygen and a different organism called an acetobacter. An acetobacter changes the alcohol to acetic acid, but it needs oxygen to do that. So you've gone from an anaerobic environment to an aerobic environment. So I'll just like pour. I have a lot of jars. A lot of probably
course.
herbalists can relate to the jars, right? So a gallon jar, fill it about 2/3 full with hard cider, right? So first, if I'm brewing apple cider vinegar, which is the only kind that I have brewed. No, that's not true. I've brewed mead
I was gonna
vinegar
say
too.
mead, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes kombucha can go really, really, really acid, and it's kind of like vinegar too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with whether it's apple cider vinegar or mead, like first you brew the alcohol. So you brew a hard cider, which is just yeast in apple juice basically, and then you put it in a jar and introduce some either pour some live culture actual factual vinegar into it, or you can plop a mother in there if that's if you have a mother, or some of each, ideally. And by introducing that new organism and giving it oxygen, so I'll put like muslin and put rubber band around it and cover the jar with muslin. I don't use cheesecloth because I do certain times of the year tend to get fruit flies in my kitchen, and they'll be able to get into the cheesecloth. So I use muslin to keep them out. And then just let it do its thing. All of this takes time, but you don't have to bother with it. You just put it, I have an herb room. Just stick it in the herb room and check on it every so often. And within a month or so, you'll have a whole gallon of apple cider vinegar, or like I said, with mead, especially if it's like doesn't really turn out that good, or if you make hard cider that's like, I don't know if I want to drink this, just make vinegar out of it. You haven't wasted anything, which is also super helpful. And then you just, like I said, introduce some acetobacter and oxygen to it and let nature take its course, and there you've got some vinegar. And then you
Easy
use
peasy.
that to make more medicine or shrubs, or like I said, I've gotten really into shrubs.
I could
Or
tell.
oxymel's,
Now we're talking.
right? The magic of honey and vinegar, because the honey just like takes that sour, like that bite
Mm-hmm.
off, makes it all sorts of smooth and lovely. Um, so yeah, I'm really into oxymel's and shrubs these days. I think they're great. And
I
then
just
just put it in the water. It's like I taught a class on shrubs at the Organic Agriculture Conference a couple winters ago, and a woman was in the class, and she said, "Yeah, I'm a long distance runner, and like I can use this for rehydration, right?" And I'm like, oh yeah, put a
mm,
little sea salt in there and a little bit of your shrub. Never buy Gatorade again. No offense, but so much more delicious and so
yeah.
much better for you, you
Oh yeah.
know?
No food coloring.
Yeah. Oh, what is that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Um, and
I
and and get some polyphenols at the same time.
Now we're talking.
Use the purple fruit, right?
I just appreciate some of the humility in the book too. There's a part where you're talking about brewing your own vinegar, and you say, "I've never, I've never tried using hard teas or other commercially made alcoholic beverages, but maybe that will work too." You're
Try
like,
it.
I haven't tried it, but yeah.
Try
And
it.
why
I
should you
mean,
try it when you got, your beautiful home brews at home that you could use anyways?
yeah. But this is the other cool thing about plant medicine is use what you got around,
Yep. Yep.
Like it doesn't have to be fancy. You can use what you have around, what you have access to.
Amen.
Mhm.
Well, you've already stayed over. Thank you for that, Betsy. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about the book?
Um, oh yeah, we pretty much got it.
Yeah.
Um, I'm excited for people to play with the book. I'm excited for people to make more medicine. I'm excited for people to do those experiments. There are actually even experiments in the book to do. Like
Mm,
they're in little sections called "Try this" and
that's
a
cool.
such and such experiment, and which is especially in I came up with that especially because it's a textbook that I hope that all herb schools will use. But again, like I really want people to experiment. I really want people to try it for yourself. See how it works for you. See what you like,
Mm.
I want people to think for themselves. Again, see, I'm a
I
teacher.
was gonna say, yep.
I want people to think for themselves. I want people to find their own way in plant medicine. I want them to find what like you finding what works for you with coffee. I want people to find what works for them with plant medicine in general. And the way to do that is to experiment. It's to make stuff, check it out and see how it goes and yeah, and see what you like and what works for you and what makes you feel good and what you enjoy.
That's beautiful, Betsy. One more time, plug the website. Is it live yet or?
Oh, yes, it is live.
Yeah.
So my website is herbalpharmacybook.com and my Instagram is Plant Medicine Maker. And I teach at the Vermont Center for Integrative Herbalism and I teach at Sage Mountain. And this summer
Prolific.
Saturday I'll be at the NOFA Vermont Conference and then I'll be at I got a few of them coming up. I'm going to the Wild Indigo Herb Fair, Herb
Mm.
Fest,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to Botanic Wise, and I'm
Hmm.
going to Misty Meadows Herbal Conference this year too, which I'm psyched for because like there's a whole bunch of and I'm going to Herb Day in New Jersey, and
Oh,
that's May 2nd.
okay.
So Herb Day on May 2nd. And all of these, I'm going to see friends that literally I haven't seen like since before COVID. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
personally very excited to get to go out on the road and get to some fun herbal events and see my friends.
Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. I think the last time we hung out in person was at the 25th anniversary of UPS. Was that
Yeah,
2019?
that was 2019.
Oh my gosh, that was
Yeah,
7 years ago.
that's like the last long herbal road trip I took. Like I've been home writing a book since then, basically. And yeah, I'm psyched to like get out and hug my loved ones,
That's gonna be amazing for you. That's so
reconnect.
good.
It's
Heck
gonna be
yeah.
great. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for the time, Betsy. And
Mm.
it's funny, that one lingering question is still
We
lingering
didn't get to
over.
that. It's still
So,
lingering.
so
You
we'll
want
have
to pull it
to.
off?
We could if you want, but we could also just
Sure.
schedule around three if you want to.
Well, no, I think I can do it quick.
All right. Well, it was mainly the if you had any tips for leading a great plant walk.
Oh yeah. So I love to give herb walks.
Hmm.
If I could do anything, like as far as like not have to write curriculum or anything like that. Like I actually do like to write curriculum, um, but I love to give herb walks more than anything else. And the way I approach it, well, first of all, I love to give herb walks. So that's like the vibe of that is part of the deal. And also I really, really enjoy introducing the plants as my friends, right?
Mm,
Plants are my friends. So I love to introduce the plants. So, when you give a plant walk, you don't have to have memorized the entire materia medica for that plant. Like you don't have to, list 10 uses for the plant. It's better to just like introduce the plant as a being and talk a little bit about who that plant is, like what kind of ecology it likes to grow in, something about harvesting it, something about maybe how it fits in the taxonomic system, or that it's a rose family or something like that. Definitely have people nibble stuff.
mm,
The best herb walks I've been on are the ones where the herbalist is like constantly giving little pieces of or constantly inviting people to pick a leaf and eat it. Because
mm.
again, the flavor of the plant is very important to its uses and how it makes you feel, right? So yeah, when you can get more senses in on it and tell stories, Some of that I took an herb walk on giving herb walks with Cascade Anderson Geller years and years ago, and I learned so much. Because that's what she was saying. Is like, tell stories. People aren't going to remember, 15 uses for the plant. Like I said, you don't have to like deliver the whole med lecture on each plant in the field, and no one's going to remember it. And sometimes people aren't taking notes either, right? But if you just like I said, introduce the plant, like, who is this being? Then people remember better, and it's more engaging, and yeah, and it's an adventure.
Yeah.
And what's not fun about adventures?
I love that. You take such a holistic approach to it. You talk about the ecology, the taxonomic situation, medicinal uses potentially, but then you're like emphasizing taste and story. So you're trying to hit the plant on every angle, and it's really gonna, get in their brains that way.
And maybe a recipe.
Ooh, yeah. Now we're talking. Yeah. Well, thank you so much once again, Betzy. We got to it. We'll have you back for a round 3 at some point anyways, even though you got to that final lingering question. That's herbalpharmacybook.com. All links will be in the podcast description and YouTube show notes. As always, thank you so much, Betzy.
Thank you so much, Mason. It's been really lovely to talk with you this afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Hope to see you at an herb conference soon.
I hope so too.
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, and also thanks to the HerbRally Schoolhouse members who showed up. So that was awesome. It's always great to have y'all show up. So awesome. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for watching today's episode of the Herbalist Hour. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want more great herbal content, be sure to subscribe to our HerbRally YouTube channel. If you enjoy these Herbalist Hour episodes and you'd like to join us live, you can do so by becoming an HerbRally Schoolhouse member. Learn more at herballi.com/schoolhouse. And if you want to get your first 30 days for free, use coupon code YouTube30 at checkout. So our HerbRally Schoolhouse members get access to exclusive video classes, monographs, and a lot more herbal community discounts, along with joining these live Herbalist Hour interviews. So one more time, herballi.com/schoolhouse. Enter coupon code YouTube30 at checkout to get your first 30 days for free. All right, we'll see you in the next episode, and take care.